right? We know who the X-Men are. We know who their enemies are very definitively. There is hierarchies and movement within that, right? What the heck? Did I just cut my stream off? No, I don't want to end my line stream. Okay, so I gotta get my stream back up. Sorry, YouTube. It looks like it dropped out. That was totally an accident. So let me get back up in here. And I am back up in here now, all right? And unfortunately, that kicked me out. But that wasn't very long. So we're back up in here, and I'm recording. Okay. So looking at the X-Men, and this is a long arc. Like, you know, the X-Men have been out since 1963. America has changed a lot. Comic books have changed a lot. But their symbolism has remained. And the X-Men have gone through several evolutions in terms of a story, like what they were actually symbolizing. So I'm going to focus a little bit more on that right now. Not necessarily, I'm just trying to get to where I can watch my stream here, where I just like to do that. Okay, let's wow, the stream's offline. Okay, so it's not going to let me get back. I don't know why it takes so long. Let's see what's going on here. Am I live right now? Shouldn't have two streams. Okay. All right, so this is it. Okay, so I just want to be able to monitor the chat while I'm here from here. So getting back to the discussion about the X-Men, like the X-Men have gone through like really six major kind of components that have each kind of really shaped who the X-Men are and overall this total arc of like X-Men stories. And I don't think that they get the props that they truly deserve and how long the X-Men have been around, how impactful they have been. Like, there are times when the X-Men have absolutely dominated comic book sales. I mean, in a world with Batman and in a world with Superman, obviously, and the Avengers, you know, in their own backyard, there have been times where the X-Men have absolutely dominated comic book sales, TV representation, and movies on a massive scale. And if we look at them, they're all very different. Now, the Avengers, of course, have been one of the best comic books, right, of all time. And you leverage what the Avengers always leveraged was not their storytelling. What the Avengers leveraged was that we're going to just have an ensemble team of the most significant characters. That's how they came together, right? When they put Captain America together, he was already a well-known commodity. We already had the Iron Man story kind of woven into that, so that was inevitability. The Hulk was a standalone thing. Even Thor, like, because Thor is what got me into the Avengers, actually. So the Avengers has always benefited from, you know, the name. You got Thor, you got all the big names, so everybody's going to pay attention to you, okay? Very different. That's more the Lakers. I'm a Lakers fan, and that's what they do. They go get your best star, and you make a team of everybody else's best stars. The X-Men story got out the mud, right? There is absolutely a foundation here. There is a very clear-cut concept here, and we see a progression not only in what the X-Men do over various storytellers. So I'm going to talk about the history of the X-Men from 1963 to now. So I'm going to chew this thing up. This is a big pot of gumbo, and I'm going to kind of get through this, right? And I think it's all going to make sense, because then you can kind of see what I mean when I'm talking about the mythology of the X-Men, like how powerful this mythology ultimately was, okay? So to get into understanding the X-Men, let's start from the very beginning, right? I like to start stories at the beginning, although Star Wars started their story like kind of right in the middle of it, right? And that still worked out for them. But for this case, we're going to start right at the beginning. And this is 1963. This is Stan Lee. This is Jack Kirby, right? And these are the guys who actually developed the X-Men. They literally are the ones who developed the X-Men. And the X-Men are instantly different from every other hero type. They're not like any other heroes, not in any way. And this is why. This is Stan Lee creating, like, from the beginning, he created mutants as different. The big difference being that prior to this, everybody had to get their powers from some type of accident, right? everybody got their powers from some type of accident. You know, pretty much like the Hulk. Captain America wasn't an accident, but it was an experiment. Let me see. Tony Stark kind of got his. It's like I gotta bust out of this jail, right? So that's how I developed Iron Man. The Fantastic Four went into space and they got some cosmic radiation, that they flew through, and that precipitated their powers. So everybody prior to this had to have some whole like elaborate backstory. I'm Luke Cage. I gotta go to jail, and then they're gonna experiment on me in jail, right? I'm Isaiah Bradley. I'm in the government, and they doing me wrong, and they giving me all this stuff, and then I get powers, and they be like, yeah, get your black ass in the back. That kind of stuff. Everybody had these elaborate stories and these elaborate circumstances in order to get their powers. And I'm pretty sure from a storytelling capacity, that became very tiresome, right? To continue to have to create these scenarios. So Stan Lee, in his infinite wisdom, and I'm not saying that facetiously, I mean that, he made this concept very different in the sense that now you could just be born with powers. That cut out a lot of that stuff. That cut out a lot of the Spider-Man, I gotta be in a lab, and then the spider got some radiation on it, but it doesn't kill the spider, and nobody stepped on the spider. This is an absolutely clean space. Do you understand? Like, Spider-Man is in a research facility. I don't know how many research facilities you guys have been in, but it don't be a lot of spiders, around. If you see a spider at a research facility, don't believe shit that they tell you. Have everything that they give you retested, because their lab space isn't even clean. So that's what you get when you get a spider inside of a laboratory. I know it seems like a little thing, like, oh, there's a spider and you got bit by a spider. A laboratory facility that's a warning sign. That's a red flag. But anyway, so you have to do all this stuff. Like, and not only is there a spider in your lab, it's an irradiated spider, okay? Like, so your protocols need to be questioned at this point, right? And I think there's another story with like, what was it? One of those two characters. It's a very racist, Necra and Mandrill. And again, another accident at a research facility that they would take home, like it switched the pigment of their children. So the white parent went home and had a black baby, and the black woman went home and had a white baby. Like, I mean, they were off the hook. This is at one of those labs, right? I don't know what lab it was, but it was a Marvel lab. So the protocols were absolutely terrible, right? It's absolutely terrible. And it had to be, because otherwise nobody would get powers. I mean, I think like Nova got his powers from Alien. Like, I'm talking some of the OGs, so I can't believe we don't talk about Nova anymore, right? I can't believe, as a character, he's one of the first characters ever gotten to. Very Peter Parker-like, right? So I'm going to mission now to bring back Nova. Nova brings my attention to Nova. So 1963, Stan Lee makes a decision and changes how people get superpowers. Now it's a whole lot easier, right? You're just born with them. And sure, you can have a regular life. That opens up opportunities just to write about. You had a regular life. Oh yeah, you're a mutant, but you're a regular life. You're just a girl from the suburbs. You had mom and a dad. They were school teachers. And oh, by the way, you're a mutant. And that changes that. But you were allowed to have non-super soldier or non-billionaire dad, inventor stories in order to get your powers. But this hit different. Now, we don't get why. The why this hits different. All of a sudden, mutants are a different thing. Nobody knows why. Nobody knows why. I've had arguments with my friends of, can is coffee. Yep, I think we're right there agreeing with each other. Thank you for stopping in, by the way. So why mutants hit different would be the establishment of the entire mythology. We don't know why. We can only speculate why. And what our speculation is that they're feared and that we hate you guys and you're going to replace us, right? And that humans fear what is different from them. That we fundamentally fear what is different than us. And I don't know if that's fundamentally true. I think some people do. But I don't know if that's core to humans. I don't know if that trait actually is anything that allowed us to survive and thrive on this planet. I don't know that I believe that. But that's what we say. Now, Charles Xavier, of course, famously believed that we could still coexist. And I actually believe that. Like, I actually do believe that. I don't think I would have... I mean, like, if I'm at the liquor store and I get robbed by somebody with powers, I'm not blaming everybody on powers. I'm blaming whatever you look like. Like, let's just be honest. You're whatever you were, and now you got powers. That's what the problem is. I'm not afraid of mutants getting powers. I'm afraid of certain type of people now becoming mutants with powers. That's all. That's the scariest thing about humans, is, okay, what were you doing at home before you discovered that you got powers, right? That's all that really matters to me. Because I would think from a mutant standpoint, I'm like, yeah, there's all kind of aliens out here. We've seen all kinds of stuff out here, right? We need somebody who can fight back. We need better. We don't have enough weaponry. We're not like an advanced technological society, given what we're up against, right? So having X-Men, to me, seems like, yeah, it's about time. Where's all our X-Men? Where's all our heroes at? You guys need to get to work. What are you guys doing? There's a whole bunch of stuff coming down here. Get on it, right? But that's not how it is. So Professor X sees coexistence is possible, and then of course we have Magneto, who says exactly the opposite. And this creates the central philosophical battle that would drive that franchise until its most modern time. It 100% is. I was recently watching the Gifted series, which is kind of an X-Men. I think it's kind of an alternate universe. I get confused, man. Like I said, I've been reading comics. I'm like 53, and I've been reading comics since I was like 7. After time and so many reboots, man, I can't. You know what I'm saying? Like, you dig what I'm saying? Like, so I feel like this is an alternate world that they live in, because I don't see any presence of any other heroes. So I'm assuming it's their own multiverse spinoff, and they're still reliving the same themes of X-Men. Like, they literally break it off. Like, this is supposed to be post X-Men. But there's, like, one of Magneto's daughters is in the series, and she clearly starts a rep. They literally branch off. Like, you have the underground, and this is like, what's the man? I'm trying to get his name. Red Hawk. I believe it's Red Hawk. The X-Men Red Hawk is leading them at the time, so he's kind of they kind of don't have a Professor X, but obviously, you know, Magneto's daughter, it's Polaris, becomes. Literally, they divide off and they become a whole faction, which is essentially like how the Brotherhood was born, right? That's how and the Brotherhood, you know, before you get into it, the Brotherhood did not call themselves the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. They simply called themselves the Brotherhood. They did not see themselves as evil. So I always kind of thought that was very telling, that you insisted on calling him the Brotherhood, like as if they adopted that name themselves. That's utterly insane, okay? So this is where we start to see. This is like the central core of the X-Men started in its foundation. They had a central core. And you had two themes. Obviously, this is integration versus separation. The original X-Men were students. They were trying to survive in a world that didn't understand them. And this was the greatest invention of this era. This is what it is. And the greatest enemy to them would not be Magneto. It would be the Sentinels. And we'll talk about the Sentinels and what that means. Because all this ties into what America was going through culturally. Like 100%, this is what America was going through culturally, right? Like, this is 1963. What's coming out of this era? Well, the big picture is, you know, Cold War. You know, America's feeling divided. Like, you know, we civil rights is jumping off. That's why all these stories about acceptance and who's scary and false propaganda and protests, all this stuff is perfect for storytelling. I think the X-Men benefited from that, although they kind of pushed back that they're directly connected to it, right? And I kind of get why, but at the same time, you did use all this actual emotional energy, right? March on Washington, the I Have a Dream speech, Civil Rights Act in 1964, Voting Rights Act in 1965, riots, all this stuff is going on, right? All this stuff is going on, and this is how they're spinning the story of them as outsiders, right? They're capturing something there, and I think it's kind of disingenuous that you guys kind of ride that emotional energy, but, you know, again, it is what it is, right? But this is what's going on, and what does this equality look like? So that's kind of where mutants are, is they're really pushed out. Now, during this time span, we're talking from 1963. Like, my graphics are all screwed up, right? I don't know why. It just chose to do that. We're talking from 1963 to 1975. This is a 12-year span. And this is very important for Generation X, because this is a huge part of early Gen X. I think, like, true Gen X, you're going from like 65 to like 82, something like that. Right, to truly get Gen X in, I think it's like 81 or 82, whatever it is. Like 65 to like 81, I think is what it is, right? But they're kind of sitting right at the crux of it. Like 63 to 75, you are impacting a major part of us, right? Like everybody else, like you read the books later, they just weren't released the years at, you know, right when you're born, right? So we're severely impacted because this is what we're growing up. We're growing up seeing this reality, and then we're seeing this in comic books, right? And this is an era during this time. They produced 94 comic books during that period of time, and we know all the members during this period of time, right? Like we know the X-Men by this time, right? You got Cyclops, you got Marvel Girl, you got Iceman, you got Beast, you got Angel, you got Professor X. This is our core, right? Look, I know Mimic bounces in and out, and some people don't even respect Mimic. I've heard such crazy things now, but this is really what's going on. It's not necessarily a villain, particularly because Magneto, he's still a friend, but he's a friend that you don't agree with on some very important things, right? Which that's kind of normal and healthy. I love you, but I can't ride with you on this, okay? Or either way, or both of them. So that's who he is, and that's kind of the situation that they're set in. So, and this also, again, ties in with the development of the military-industrial complex. Like, because the Sentinels are born out of this. The Sentinels are 100% a reaction to the development of the military-industrial complex. We're right in the heart of Vietnam. I think we have a few more years of NAM. There's a few more years of NAM going on. So we are at the height of military production. We're accelerating spending, and this is where you get the Sentinels. So it's very intelligent how they quickly picked up on that. That's something I have to add for Stan Lee, is how quickly you guys picked up on actual culture, actual ideologies. And it really tells a whole lot just about how sharp these guys are. I'm just looking for a supporting image to go along with this. Because this would be a core of who they were for a long time. Like, it would really define who they were. This particular, so their villain often gets to determine like who you are. And Batman, we define Batman by your relationship with the Joker, good or bad. Like, this is kind of central to who you are. Same thing with Superman and Lex Luthor. It's a reason that it's Lex Luthor. And it being the Sentinels, it's also a reason that it's these guys. Like, this is a reason that it's the government, right? That's what the X-Men are actually up against. That's what makes their story both very profound, and then at the same time, you got to look at it and be like, hey, you know that there actually were people that the government was actually after, right? Like, you guys do get this stuff, right? You're not just hitting on something that's completely unknown. So these are the Sentinels here, right? So talking about this era, the Sentinels, and the development of this is saying for the X-Men that the government is out to get you, right? And I'm going to show this guy here too. Like, and that's significant. That makes the X-Men story an outsider in a very special way, right? In a very special way. Trask. And so to call them outsiders, it's no like small feat. That is a huge thing. That's very iconic for who the X-Men actually are, right? They are 100% outsiders that will go and work for the government. I mean, like, the stories of them are just incredible in like service to the government, and the government trying to kill you at the same time. Like, right then, we're literally going to try to kill you right now. Right after you just got done helping us, we're going to turn around and we're going to kill you right now. And that's how the government came at the X-Men repeatedly. So when you kind of look at their story and you're like, yeah, why do you guys want to, it actually kind of makes sense, right? So this is where you start to see like the development of the government's role in this, how not only complicit, like the government fundamentally is the weapon. Instead of just drafting mutants in as your citizens saying, hey, we got Private such and such, he has these abilities, sir, you're going to learn how to use these powers for the military, the United States, to protect this country. We're going to put you in special training, you're going to learn how to use your powers. We encourage all you mutants to come on down here and join the U.S. forces and use those. They didn't want to do that. They would rather go out and kill it because, again, they're afraid. Like, it's you when we try to rationalize it out, this is why. But we're seeing early on this combining of so many social issues all in one set. I needed to kind of pinpoint like why at this time, why this is such good storytelling, and what the foundation of the X-Men mythology really is saying, what it's actually focusing on. And this is a huge part of what it's focusing on, is that relationship, the government and mutants. That's the most significant part of who they are. So we get all that stuff. So the outsiders, you know, their fight. This is what would come out of it. This is what they go through. This is the foundation. We started off as students, and then you have, of course, they're heavily tied into the Cuban Missile Crisis. So they've always tied X-Men into current events, you know, throughout this period of time. So anything that was going on, and that's our first one. That's our OGs, right? And then by the time we're ready to get out of this era, we enter into the second era of the X-Men, right? And I told you I'm going to break out all 6 of these. So this will be important. I would actually pay attention if I'm interested in learning about just the history of this particular comic, right? So then we get into the second era of the X-Men, which is massively important in kind of defining who they are, right? Is that you there? I want to get you out of there. So this is the second era of the X-Men, where we start coming with different members. This picks up in 1975, and this would go to 1991. So for the rest of my time as Gen X, right, this is where it picks up, and it changes, and it kind of just grids them more into defining their mythic art. Now we're really starting to understand who the X-Men are. Now at this time, the writer is Chris Claremont, who would do this, man, for like 17 years. I think he's the guy who's given us the X-Men. This is his interpretation. And I think this is where X-Men actually starts to become a mythology. This is where I think the X-Men start to be significantly different. And people are looking at them different. We don't look at the Fantastic Four the way we look at the X-Men. We don't look at, like, Justice League the way we look at the X-Men. X-Men is clearly different. They're a superhero team, right? You know, the X-Men there's something different, right? Like, all those guys are superhero teams. I know the Fantastic Four is a family, but you don't feel like a family. You feel like a different kind of family. You do feel like a family, a kind of family I don't know nothing about, right? I've never seen that kind of family, right? But I've seen the X-Men type of family. I think we all can appreciate that. They are also a culture. Like, the X-Men are adaptive of a culture. Whereas the Fantastic Four comes out of the gate, and they tell you what culture they're identifying with, right? They're this post-Cold War kind of perfect family, like the race car driver, the scientist, like the beautiful girl who really doesn't have a lot to say, the hardworking American guy. Like, we know who these guys are, and they fit right in there. And again, that is Marvel's first family for a reason. The X-Men were something different because the X-Men became a culture unto themselves. Right? A little different kind of swag, a little different kind of vibe. They look different. They feel different. They broke out of that first mold group, hardcore, and they really took X-Men into something else, right? This family, it grew. The family expanded, right? It's the X-Men, but they got global all of a sudden, man. The X-Men became like, we ain't local. We ain't just local DJs, right? We're the X-Men. We're global. Internationally known, locally respected, right? That's who the X-Men are. Because now we get Storm, okay? And Storm's from Cairo, right? Then we get Kurt, we get Nightcrawler, he's from Germany. Then we get Colossus, and Colossus is Russian. Then we get Wolverine, or he resurfaces. Wolverine's been around here for a while. Then he is, of course, Canadian, right? So the X-Men start to become the world. The X-Men become different. The X-Men is a culture that just became a global culture. The other guys aren't doing this type of things, and these guys weren't developing as this culture is developing. Right? When we look at the X-Men, we look at the Avengers, we look at kind of Justice League, they're all kind of harkening to cultures that were already established, and you're representing those cultures. The X-Men were developing and growing with the culture, and that's really where it makes them significantly different. And the X-Men separate themselves by the emotional depth that they have. The X-Men as characters are all forced to grow. They're all, a lot of them, very young or very damaged coming into it. That's another significant part of the X-Men, is that they acknowledge everybody's kind of jacked up, but they have to grow, they fall in love, they fail, they change, their identities get different, they lose people that are important to them. Like, the X-Men go through it. So this story becomes far more character driven. Like, it becomes character driven in very different ways than with all the action stuff, right? In fact, they get more spectacular with the addition of Storm and Colossus and Sunstar. They get more flashy as they progress, but still they're rooted in like very real character stories. The X-Men are always seeing themselves differently, right? They always take themselves differently than how the rest of the world sees them, right? And I think Jubilee was a character, like, by the time we get here, like, we're kind of rooted in this, right? So we're definitely moving on our path of, like, who they are. Now, out of this, we get one of the most significant comic book stories of all time. And I'll tell you about this story here as well, because this gets us into the Phoenix story. And the Phoenix story, now, this is the most important story of this entire era. Jean Grey becomes Phoenix, then becomes Dark Phoenix. And this transforms the X-Men fundamentally in what they are and what story that they're telling. But the X-Men comes from a science fiction background and have now entered into mythology at a full scale. Now, I am going to say that I believe Superman has maintained his own mythology, and I think that Batman is also his own mythology. This is a different kind of mythology because Phoenix is tying into a lot of cultures. It's the idea of rebirth, this energy, it's this very Kali energy, this is very Hindu belief system energy about destruction in order to have creation. They focused on one side of it, but there's two sides of that same energy. So now they're dealing with something that is ancient, that is the danger of unlimited power. It is the temptation of godhood. It is the necessity of sacrifice. This is all the things they wrapped into one character, and she has to start making all these decisions on her own. So we go through this with Jean Grey. Now, all of a sudden, this is no longer just a comic book story, right? This is like, now what we've entered into is you're kind of a space epic now, right? You've kind of entered into being a space epic on a whole lot of levels. Like, you really changed the math, like the concepts that you're dealing with, the power levels that you're dealing with have now gone to a whole, like, different scale. You were dealing with planetary beings throughout, like from your very foundation. Charles is a planetary being, Magneto is a planetary being, but now you've adopted like a divine, a cosmic level being. The X-Men were one of the first to really adopt that kind of character into their entire ethos, and it changed something about who they were. And this story now, when the X-Men end up, I'm telling you, this the ending of the Dark Phoenix, when they have to go and fight for her, in its form, is one of the best stories. It still might be one of the best. It's probably the best story, at least for the X-Men, maybe that Marvel has ever come out, because it became an epic space mythology. It became an epic space mythology. The Shire Guard that you were fighting, these were all people from different planets. It's a massive galactic empire. And they're fighting in space. Like, the X-Men went somewhere completely different. And that gave us, in that graphic novel and novels, this was among the first kind of epic space mythologies. I mean, obviously Star Wars starts, in the 70s. This is still different. It's still like Star Wars became a mythology, and I guess this did too. But it has a different feel to watch them go from this and explode into this. And all of a sudden, like, the concepts they're dealing with, the relationships they're having, where they're fighting, all this stuff has cosmic significance in a lot of ways, more than just planetary. So we get this through the X-Men. And I feel like the story with Jean, and again, this is kind of going to your hardcore. You got Cyclops, Beast, Angel, Wolverine, Storm, Colossus, Nightcrawler. For me, this was like the core of who the X-Men were. Some of them were dropping in, some were dropping out, so forth. But this is still essentially the core of who I grew up with as the X-Men, like this team here. And the attachment to Jean, like, they plucked someone who appeared to be the most innocent of us all, and they made her the deadliest, right? And the moments leading up to this, where she starts to break from the team, where she turns into a threat to the team, and then when she's full on, like, taunting them with her power, we really watch her transformation and how much it breaks him. And then remember, I'm reading a comic book here. I'm like 11, and all of a sudden I got to go to Jean's funeral, right? Like, I mean, so they're tying a lot in there, and they leverage our relationship with the characters on a personal level, on an intimate level, right? And they lose. The X-Men go on the biggest adventure of their entire lives. They're fighting for the one thing. They're fighting for the one member of the team that they all love. And they lose. This is a different kind of story. And I remember reading this shit, the graphic novel, right? And like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, I'm watching them lose to this Shire Imperial Guard. And I'm just incredulous about it the entire way through. Because I can't believe this is happening. This does not happen in comic books. But it happened. They gave us a tragedy. We had to watch Jean Grey die. We lost the fight for her. We couldn't protect her. With all these amazing powers. Of course, her Phoenix powers are gone. She had her Phoenix powers while the fight was going down. It's a whole different fight, right? But, you know. So they lose out. They get their asses handed to them. Like the X-Men got mollywopped. The Shire Guard had a perfect counter for everything that they had. Sometimes your own abilities just were powerful than you. They deny you oxygen. I mean, like everything. Like this was a tactical breakdown among the X-Men instantly. There was never a part where we thought we was going to win this. I mean, I guess I did think we were going to win this fight, but every single fight they were losing. And okay. All right, somebody's getting ready to come back. Somebody's getting ready to mount the comeback, and we're going to get this first one and the next one. It didn't happen. We just kept taking L after L after L. And like poor Cyclops, man. I mean, poor Colossus. He had to get beat down by the Gladiator. And that was an ass whooping. Again, he's too young, but you took that ass whooping. Professor X, you just keep running your X-Men out there. Just get beaten down. That's what you did. You made this deal. And, you know, I guess it's the only deal you had. But still, man, you kind of let us out there and just get beat down. And they did. So now we're talking about, you know, this Dark Phoenix concept that, you know, Marvel still use even now. But this is an incredible bit of storytelling. This takes us into an entire different way. And this is where we're really cemented. Now, I've been talking about how we're building the mythology, the X-Men, why it's different than these other characters. And we're starting to see it right now. Like this is really big separation. We had some other good storylines going on. I felt like they were really, really like on another level. I'm just being really honest with you guys here. That's what this story gave us, right? So then we come out of that. We come out of Dark Phoenix and you're like, okay, what's going to happen now? Okay. Then we roll right into Days of Future Past. And then we're like, Jesus. So now we're really seeing some super intelligent writing going along with the X-Men. This is their most influential story of all time. I feel like this is their broadest story. And this is about the future being lost. This is, again, we go back to their core story. The Sentinels, they win. Mutants are imprisoned. Humanity becomes authoritarian. And the story enters a concept, again, that is central to the X-Men, that the future can be changed. And the title, Days of Future Past, which is fitting, that's brilliant. Whoever wrote that down deserves an extra raise right now. Give them a little bit of extra money for doing that because it worked out. So this is Chris Claremont. This is John Byrne. And this is kind of this dystopic future ruled by the Sentinels, right? Kitty Pryde's mind is sent into the past to scream to everybody, help! And they get the X-Men to try to prevent this catastrophe. And so this becomes like a major element for them. This is a major element that they would reinvent in the films, and to limited success. I don't know if it was as deep as what the comic book represented, but it's a game changer. Because again, it takes their, you know, they've gone interstellar, intergalactic, and they've also gone chronological. They've entered the time stream in a different way than everyone else. So this is kind of adding again to this ever-evolving lore of the X-Men, that they're able to talk about what was going on in the 60s and progress. They can go back to Vietnam and talk about this. They've already touched in Nazi Germany. So they're continuing, and that was kind of the genesis. Like, you know, a lot of Marvel and a lot of DC, their genesis is actually what was going on in World War II. So we go to Superman, we go to Wonder Woman, we go to Captain America, Namor, a lot, Fantastic Four. A lot of them have their roots in like German, this whole super soldier. The X-Men real genesis was about this time with the civil unrest and the expansion of the military. That's what really ties, in real world perspective, this is what ties the X-Men together. So at this point, they've gotten to the point that the technology is so advanced, right? That they've got mutants imprisoned and they have to go back. And this creates some of the best X-Men stories even to this day. I thought the film was pretty good. I don't think it hit on every point, but man, this is again like by the time this comes out, we're really heavily invested, and this will be a story that they would carry forward. So this is an important story for the future of the franchise as well. We go from there into like really what I call definitively like a third era, where we get into like the animated stuff, right? And this is a huge impact. The mutants become superstars. We're talking from 1991 all the way to 2000. So like this is really heavily deep into like core Marvel. And this is where I feel like they start to be some separators. The animated series, both a couple here that ran in the States, also an animated, Japanese anime you can catch this around, that comes out at that same period of time. They also do an Iron Man. The trading cards are exploding. Action figures are exploding. Video games are exploding. And the X-Men are riding all this, as well as any group could possibly do, because you have so much diversity in who your core is. All the interesting characters with the very different looks. Everybody wasn't rocking the same uniform, so you got that diversity, and it really works. So they become one of the biggest franchises on the planet. Now they're thoroughly competing with all the big boys, and during this period of time, they are getting some absolute like devastating. They're working it, man. They're killing people. So this is Jim Lee. This is Jim Lee's work. He launches X-Men 1 in 1991. This becomes the best-selling comic ever sold. That's how powerful and dominant the X-Men are at this time. This becomes what will be the best-selling comic book of all time. And this launches them into pop culture icons. The X-Men have changed. The X-Men, like, whereas Superman's eternal, right? He ain't really pop. Superman ain't really modern. We laugh at Captain America, right, for being outdated. Batman's the same way, right? Even Wonder Woman, right? These guys were contemporary. These guys were pop culture. These guys can embrace music. These guys can represent culture really easily. And that became a very different thing for them all of a sudden, right? And we saw this, like Wolverine. In what world is Wolverine a hero? This one. This is where a guy like Wolverine, who was a minor character, where this guy's a Canadian, he ain't American, right? He was in Alpha Flight. That's like the D squad of superhero franchises, right? Alpha Flight. I'm just messing with you guys Canadians. I love Alpha Flight. So he comes from Alpha Flight, and now Wolverine in the most recent movie is one of the most popular superhero characters in the world. I'm a big Wolverine fan. I read all the Wolverine books, so I'm 100% down with it. I'm simply letting you guys know that that's not what when they came out Wolverine, that's not what we thought it was going to be. Gambit explodes out of this. A unique personality. This New Orleans Cher, and I'm so smooth, and I will throw these out. Like, people love Gambit. He represents an entirely different personality, and nobody had seen or even understood to this day. I never know what this guy's saying. Rogue becomes instantly like a fan popular. Again, this Southern girl, very different vibe, very different how she rolled, right? Like, they rep that. Gambit and Rogue give us a fresh look at people and culture that you aren't seeing anywhere else, right? They wouldn't let you in the Justice League because they wouldn't understand it. So this is how we really hit it. So you got characters that these are characters that people can launch identities after. And then, of course, we get Storm. And Storm, of course, herself is one of the greatest Marvel characters, or one of the most beloved Marvel characters, is Storm. So the X-Men stop feeling like they're underground now, and now they're iconic. All their members, these are iconic characters. And so they're fully embraced. They're like, the animation is just propelling. Everyone's seen these X-Men stories now. And even with some crossover stuff, we're starting to be very familiar with Iceman, because he had another crossover with Spider-Man. So we're really, really like hitting these guys on a lot of levels. They're banging on the And then, if we thought it was gonna wander off, we thought it was gonna get dead. No, that's not what the X-Men do. Then we come with the Age of Apocalypse, right? The Age of Apocalypse ran 1995, 1996, which is a hammering ass series. Scared the bejesus out of me, right? I was really into this. This starts off with a lot of events. Professor X is gone. Apocalypse comes and wins. He essentially takes over. This world that they're in is brutal. It's violent. It's survival driven. And this is really a direct references to Professor X's world just falling apart. Like, everything that we thought Professor X would be able to do, his dream, or he thought he would be able to do, has completely collapsed. He's absolutely proven to be 100% wrong. So it collapses without him. So this is a whole different era, and like, we see more of the underground. We see more of them getting angry. We see more of the pushback. We see more of all these things here coming out of this group of X-Men now, especially since Professor, like this brain trust is gone. He is gone. They have to find a whole new world. And they're able to do that. That leads us into the fourth era of the X-Men, right? Where they are now, we're talking 2001 to 2005. This is Grant Morrison. He changes everything. And the question is no longer, can mutants survive? It's what happens when mutants become common. Because now we've got this explosion of mutants. Everyone's a mutant. Everyone. And the mutant populace is starting to kind of take over. Neighbors emerge, mutant cultures emerge. And for the first time, mutants are feeling like, yeah, we have a bigger family, right? They're not as afraid anymore. So this is the first time we're seeing this in story. And of course, that will be brutally snatched away from them. There's the mutant catastrophe, that everything changes. Genosha is destroyed, millions die. This becomes like a national tragedy among mutants. The lesson is brutal, is that when mutants build a home world, they're not safe. And that's essentially what happens to them. This is a defining story about mutants after all this time. That's the important thing. After all this time, now you got a problem, right? That's kind of where it's coming at. So they're going through a whole dark time. This is a time when, the Scarlet Witch utters those three words: no more mutants. And this is a pushback. Again, the mutant issues, this is kind of a hard reset because they had to, because they'd gone too far with this power creating ability. So it takes a major thing. And they are completely pushed back. The whole idea of their strength is now completely taken away from them. Their numbers are taken away from them. Their powers are taken away from them. So now you can still be identified as a mutant, but not have any powers to defend yourself. That becomes a significant part of their story as well, a changing part. And that would bring us into what I would like to refer to as the fifth era. This is the Messiah era. Now, during the Messiah era, this is the darkest time. This is where they're desperate for survival. Again, the start of this was the no more mutants spoken by Scarlet Witch, who just devastates mutant kind, nearly collapses it completely. And now they're really feeling like, okay, we don't have our powers. Are mutants going to go extinct? This is really the question now. They're at that point because they've been hunted. Extinction is a real possibility, although the mutant gene is embedded in humans, so it's really not a possibility. But that's how they go with it. So mutants are no longer fighting to have equal rights. Mutants are fighting just to live, to be allowed to exist. From that, they get what I like to call their Messiah, right? And I'm going to show you their Messiah. And this is a great character that they attach to. And it's this character here. Let me grab some for you guys here. I really like this one. Why are you not? Okay, well, I don't. Alright. The mouse is just acting crazy right now. Come on, give me that. So the appropriately named, where's the folder at, is Hope Summers. Right, and I'm sure if you're this deep into the story, like you see where they're starting. So Hope becomes this new Messiah because a mutant was born, right? Obviously, it comes from the Summers family. This is Scott, right? Obviously, and I'm assuming probably some version of Jean, like they would always go back to. But this is where they're at now. The mutant child is born, and this starts the House of M. She becomes a symbol. She's not just power. Now she represents possibility. So this entire future of mankind becomes tied to her. And does the mutant gene stay active on the scale that it's been? And this gives mutants a hope. Like mutants are like, all right, we're back in the mix. Like it can be all right. We can still get back. And this is a great era. This is like, I feel like, again, it 100% feels like the darkest era X-Men history. Like it 100% is. It changes who they are fundamentally. It kind of, you know, all their fears are actualized, so no one can even hide from them anymore. Charles wouldn't be able to hide from this anymore, and that's fundamentally like the big shift in who the X-Men, you know, start to become from this point. Because after this point on, this is all brand new, right? This is all brand new now because this is completely uncharted territory, and that leads us to like where we are now. Well, this is the end of it. It just ended in 2024. The nation of Krakoa, where, you know, they build a paradise, and you know it's trouble ahead. So this is about them finally coming together. They asking humanity. This is 60 years of them asking humanity to accept them. Well, they stop asking and they build their own nation. Obviously, they've always had the power to do this, which is what it's about. They develop their own economy, their own laws. They're determining their own future. Magneto's dream and Professor X's dream of moving together are the same destination. This is not coexistence. It's not domination. It is simply mutant sovereignty. So we get this resurrection, right? And that's one of the things. Like, the mutants learn how to resurrect themselves. So they're changing the meaning of life. They're changing sacrifice. They're changing the meaning. And all these things are really scaring people already. So the mutants aren't a minority group anymore because nobody's dying, but they're having kids. They're becoming something that's post-human. It's a different society than what humans have. And that's the core identity. And they've been through every single era. Outsiders, tribes, the stars, the survivors, right? The nation, obviously, that gets destroyed. So, you know, we've seen 60 years of a consistent mythology that has grown and developed in ways I don't think that we've seen other storylines maintain a core like this. It manifests in different ways through different writers, but I feel like they always kind of brought it back. I don't know if there's a point through any reboot that I would say that they lost their core. I think they've done probably the best job of maintaining the core identity of what this franchise is. And it's been out there as big as any franchises, right? Like, we talked about the totality with the animation and the comic books, and the action figures and the movies and the cultural relevance and the books, all that. I challenge anyone. I'll put the X-Men up against anybody. I think they're worthy of the conversation. So this is kind of my overview about the evolving mythology of the X-Men, how it got there. I'm probably going to spend some time over the next couple of days talking about more of the characters, a huge list, and see a way that I can kind of break it up, start having some intelligent conversations about what goes into making this mythology. So I may get into some of like the organizations and define them in greater details. But at any rate, hit me up in the comment sections. Let me know what you guys are thinking about the direction I'm going in. I will get back to some more mythology because I think there's some great tie-ins to what we see with the X-Men, the individuals, and the organization in terms of like some actual myth that it's actually related to. So I'm gonna check out a TikTok here. I will see you guys in the meantime. Yes, for any of that. And then we're going to check out a Facebook. And lastly, thank you for stopping at YouTube. And I'll be back with some more mythology and ideology for you guys soon.